Hello, everyone, and we're live for episode 42 of the Fitness Business Growth Podcast. I'm here with Beau, Zorko. How are you, mate?
Well, thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, mate. Now, Beau may have coached more gym owners than anyone else in Australia. So we're going to cover how Beau got into the fitness industry and how he's transitioned to Evolt 360, the common body composition scanners that you see in gyms all across Australia. Cue the intro.
Welcome to the Fitness Business Growth Podcast, a podcast run by gym owners for gym owners. My name is Mitch, and along with Jamie, we are your hosts, and we will be discussing all the important things that you need to run a successful fitness business. From marketing to lead generation to sales to retention to staff and much, much more. So if you are a fitness business owner, then this is for you. We hope you enjoy the following episode and we will speak with you soon.
Oh, and we're back, mate. How are you?
We are. Well, thanks, buddy.
Mate, I was speaking to Jason Motley, the big dog, and he said
The big dog.
he said you have to talk to Beau Zorko. Beau is a legend, mate. And mate, I spoke to lots and lots of gym owners, and I've never heard a bad word about you, mate. They say that you helped them grow their business from point A to point Z, mate, which is super, super impressive.
Very humbling words, Jamie. Great to hear that. Great to hear that the big dog's going so well. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to have worked with him for a number of years now, and obviously very fortunate to call him one of my very good mates. So
Yeah, cool,
great to see
mate,
him.
Was he a Brisbane Lions supporter before he met you or after he met you?
Good question. So I am kind of glad you asked this one. So no, Jason and I, funnily enough, got to know each other working through the Queensland Talent Academy. So Jace was one of the head S&C guys, and I was one of the coaches at that point in time. So that's where we got to know each other. Look, he won't like me saying that he is actually a West Coast supporter first and foremost, but I think obviously with the success of the Lions and obviously our friendship, he's been happy to move over, particularly the last few years anyway.
Yeah, of course, mate. Of course, mate. I actually played AFL my whole life growing up. I was a centre half back. I thought I was pretty good. Turns out I wasn't. But my earliest memory of watching AFL, mate, was actually the 02-03 grand final against Collingwood. I think they had 3 in a row there. It was an amazing series. Jason Ackermanis, Michael Voss, mate. My dad was a massive Collingwood fan, and I just wanted to be like Anthony Rocker and kick some goals. But unfortunately, I was thrown in the back line.
I was going to say you're wrong end of the ground for you, mate.
Yeah. Well, mate, let's get into your journey, your story. So first things first, mate, I'd love to know, obviously there was a strength conditioning part with the AFL, but how did you get into the fitness industry to begin with?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be part of some high-level indoor cricket teams, national indoor cricket teams, as a youngster, and obviously got to enjoy and appreciate what the S&C coaches did with us. So the programming, the periodization, and just their work behind the scenes, and obviously the way that they got us prepped up for whether it was a national carnival or an international carnival. So my interest in S&C and probably more to the point, personal training started there. I then worked with a coach myself, just in my own prep work before tournaments, and to get my own physical condition in the best state that I could before those tournaments. And yeah, I think a collection of those things certainly got me interested in the S&C / personal training field, and that's where it certainly all started. So from there, went and did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, as we all do. Now, don't quote me on this. I think I graduated
what year?
08,
What year did you? 08, yeah. I got my Cert
09.
I got my Cert 3 from Gosford TAFE in 2008.
There you go. There you go. So 15 years realistically now between then managing and owning my own facility. So was very fortunate to manage the fitness facility at the football club that I coached at. So that was great, and we got to run that for the club.
Cool, mate. I just want to step back, mate. So you got your Cert 3, Cert 4 in 2008, and then you managed the fitness facility at your cricket or AFL club. Now, was that a commercial gym or was it a gym for the club? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so gym for the club. so obviously we were able to provide a wonderful service for members and their friends. So it's been interesting to see the evolution in the industry over time, because back in those days it was personal training was it. That there wasn't really the group fitness revolution. There wasn't the sort of F45s and those type spaces as yet.
Yeah.
If anything, we were just before the 24/7 craze. So the jets of the world started to pop up at that point in
Yeah.
time.
It's crazy, mate, because I'm
Yeah.
33, 34. How old are you, mate?
Mhm.
How old are you, Beau?
I'm not 40 yet. I'm 39.
Not 40, 39. And just how far the fitness industry has come since like 2007. I actually think the first
Yeah.
Anytime Fitness was in 2011. And that was 2007, sorry. And that was at
Yep.
Muswellbrook. And that
Yep.
just exploded. And then Jets, and then Snap, and then all of a sudden F45. And we just actually forget that there was typically one 24-hour gym per town and one
Correct.
go-to personal trainer.
Yep, absolutely. So we were lucky. I mean, we got to ride the wave of the GFC through that time. So it sort of graduated, came out, bang. Oh well, the world's doomed. What do we do? And believe it or not, we actually went the other way. We had a wonderful growth period there for 18 months, and purely because I feel people wanted wanted to spend some money to feel better about themselves, and if that meant that they felt better from the inside out, and then the outside in looked just as good, then they were obviously happy to do it. So no, we had a great time. Had a great time there, and then we ended up opening another location not far from there. And it was at that point in time that sort of been there, done that. What's next? During that time, I'd worked with another business coach who learned so much from, and did some great work together. And I was offered the opportunity to come in and run or work for that particular business as a coach. So I went through those channels and started to do with other fitness business owners what we'd sort of done together.
So just to back up, mate, we're going over so many great details here. So you had your own facility at the club, and then did you open one on your own, or did you open a second one for the club? And
No,
okay.
open.
So let's
go
back to that. And what year did you open up your own club?
2014 it was. Yeah.
And was this PT or was it group?
So by that stage, it's interesting to touch on this point. So the thing that gave us the success at the initial studio, the initial space, was the good old 7-day free trial. So we essentially built an acquisition system around. Now we used to offer group training and PT was really the big thing at that stage. That the groups probably not so much. If anyone did group, it was really in a park at a boot camp, or you did a Les Mills type class in a commercial gym. So we sort of followed we'll do a little bit indoor, a little bit outdoor. So our acquisition system at that time, funnily enough, was 7-day trial. By the end of the week, they would upgrade into their group membership, which was a whole lot more affordable than what it is now. Well, even now, not that the rates now aren't necessarily affordable. It was a whole lot cheaper, put it that way. And then we would have a system where we'd then upgrade them into our, realistically a package that included some PT and group training.
Mate, I'd love to back up my favorite word, acquisition, the 7-day trial acquisition system. Please tell me about that system in 2014.
Yeah, so essentially, well, we'd introduced this earlier. So essentially what we would do, obviously Facebook was only just starting, so this, not saying that our 7-day trial was the first thing on Facebook, but obviously we used Facebook as this brand new tool.
Are we talking organic or ads?
All organic. Yep. So we didn't know paid marketing.
Yeah. Organic was wild, man. Before 2015, I remember we'd say like, tag, share this post, and it would reach the entire town, like 10, 15,000 impressions just on the organic business page. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the the wonderful thing about the tagging feature at that time was obviously all of their friends would see it. Now, look, there's different rules and regs and algorithms and all that fun stuff that makes Facebook ads even more difficult than ever at the moment. But obviously the beauty of the tag feature was there you got to all of their network. So we were essentially building an organic system where you take some social proof, you take a before and after photo, or you take a big group photo. We used to do some incredible events, which is great that fitness business owners can now utilize the power of events again, particularly through their boutique studios, because hey, we couldn't for a few years back. We won't talk about the COVID word. so so we really harness the power of those. So no paid ads, all organic, and essentially it was generate the inquiry, whether it was through, funnily enough, the good old lead box, or through and then all through social, or through Facebook, through
Yeah.
tags, shares, people commenting,
Yeah. I
or
remember,
referrals.
mate, we opened up our first location in 2015 and we gave away a lifetime membership.
Yep.
And we said like, tag and share, and literally like 1,200 to 1,500 shares, and it reached every
Yeah.
single person in Newcastle overnight. And then
Yep.
it was just the call to action was DM for more information, and every single message was like, "Can I get a copy of your timetable?"
Yeah.
That was it, mate. When life was
That was
simpler,
it.
hey.
It was so much simpler, wasn't it? But no, so we essentially worked that SIS. So whether it was through referrals, whether it was through referral, and we were very mum and dad based, as you can imagine. I mean, the core of our member base were involved with the club in some way, shape, or form. So we were able to harness that network and their networks and their networks, and
Yeah.
it was
Can I
a train
jump
from
in
there.
there, mate? With my AFL club, they were using Facebook groups before they were nothing but a lead generation tool, and it was literally just like, "Hey guys, training is on Tuesday. It's wet weather.
Yep.
Go to the indoor center. Don't bring your boots." And we used to post like training nights, game days, events, and we actually got my
Yep.
face. We used the Facebook group just like the footy club for our gym, and it worked
Yeah.
amazing. And mate,
Yep.
if you had 100 people in that Facebook group, 100 people would see it.
They would. When life was simpler, I think we've already mentioned that.
Yeah.
But it was, and then as I say, from the organic inquiry, our system was, and it was realistically the same with everyone. It was 7-day trial, and typically we'd hand out 2 passes instead of the one, because it's always more fun with a friend. So one became 2. They would have unlimited access to the group sessions for 7 days. And believe it or not, our best sales day was a Saturday. So Saturday then became, they'd finish our big group boot camp of a morning, which, we used to do some wonderful events and have a load of fun, and the kids would come along some weeks. That then became, obviously the upsell into the group membership. And then as part of the group membership, they received 2 bonus PT sessions. So they would do the following week, 2
Mate,
PT sessions over the week.
I cannot take this smile off my face, because fucking hell, life was simpler.
And then they would,
unbelievable.
So within the space of 14 days, they went from 0 to 29 a week, which we were probably unders at that point, but that's okay. They went from 0 to 20. They went from 0 to 29 to 99 in the space of 14 days, and they loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Mate,
so
my claim to fame, mate, is we opened a location in Curry, a small, very, very small country town. There was no gym there. There was no group fitness there. It was the perfect storm, the perfect timing.
Yep.
We went from 0 to 509 members in about 12 months. And it was pretty much exactly what you said. It was just like, share, tag. We boosted a few posts, and it was like laughable. You'd boost a post and the messages would just fly in.
Yep.
I didn't even know how it worked. It's crazy.
It did. And as I say, we never got to the point. We would run a boost, but heck, I never set up a paid ad. And the other thing we were really fortunate of, and I was very grateful of at the time, we had some wonderful staff that our members just loved. And they've gone on to do some incredible things in the industry in their own right, and opens facilities, and I think one in particular has gone, and I think he might have been a Mr. Natural World or something like that. He did a brilliant job. Kane, if you tune in and watching, I know that I think you've still got your studio there on the coast as well. So so that was essentially it. That was our model. And then for some differing reasons, we then moved on from there. The club were doing some new developments. So then we essentially opened up a new location and just replicated that system. So and as I say, I was working with a mentor at that time, and as we opened up, we're obviously able to utilize that system, knowing that it just worked. Yeah.
So can I touch on that, mate? Because I am the biggest believer in getting a mentor. And I'm talking about a mentor for business. I'm talking about a mentor for different things that you need in your life. When you were running the gym on your own and you had your 7-day trial acquisition system, when you hired a mentor who I'm guessing was an expert at marketing, expert at systems, expert at sales, what did that take your gym to?
Oh, look, we'd paddled, so one thing we didn't do was offer group training. So we were purely, because PT was it back. So the big things back there, blast from the past, the big things back there were PT, and your clients are your walking billboard. So it was all about results, and that's what was really driven home at that point in time. It was all about results. It was all about results. It was all about results. It's been wonderful to see that evolve to now being all about client experience, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But essentially, the work with that particular mentor helped us to introduce and also formalize the group training service that obviously people got to enjoy. And then we're able to essentially put a system around it where not only did we have the acquisition system that we've just had a good laugh about and a trip down memory lane, but it also enabled us to upsell. It enabled us to run our challenges off the back of. It enabled us to really build off that bread and butter platform. So
did you get to a point, mate, where PT, it was the classic trading time for money, logisticals, you had more clients, you had more trainers, and then you opted to push to the group model once the F45 craze started?
Well, we just found we're missing part of the market. Yeah, because obviously PT is still to this day a higher ticket service. And what we found was that we sort of doubled in challenges before we then had the group fitness service. So you'd get people for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. In fact, funnily enough, it was the old Biggest Loser 12-week transformation at that stage. So
really,
that was all the craze. The Biggest Loser was
Yeah.
all the craze, and then the red team and blue team and those sorts of things. So
man,
yeah,
going back to the good old days with Facebook ads, mate. I don't know if you remember, but you could actually edit the ad once it was approved.
Yes.
So you could write like 12-week challenge, it would be approved. You could edit the copy, 12-week challenge for women in Curry that want to lose 35 kilos and make $1 million in 12 weeks. And like you could just go crazy on the copy.
You could go crazy. It
was madness.
Yeah, it could. So so we as I say, very so felt we were missing a market, used challenges as a starting point to that, and then obviously then the next issue was, well, hang on, they come for the challenge and then we don't keep them. So and even in coaching history, worked with a couple of businesses where all they did was 12-week challenges, so they only got paid 4 times a year. And hang on, there's an issue here. So obviously the introduction of that particular service that gave us the ability to then run challenges at will, it also gave us that little bit of a downsell too, that if someone had gotten to a point, whether financial circumstances, personal circumstances, we're very average, we're very average Joe's based gym. So kids sports and all of those sorts of things, they still wanted to do some training, and we had a service that we could offer them without losing them altogether. So
I just want to jump in there, mate, and I'm sure you saw this in your time when you were coaching gym owners. Having a challenge start date, does it get you a cheaper cost per lead? Maybe in certain situations. Does it encourage urgency and scarcity? Maybe in certain situations. However, it can also turn people off, because what if they can't start at that date? What if you plan a challenge start date in 4 weeks and that challenge bombs and you can't go again for 4 weeks? Like, I love evergreen offers, mate. My favorite headline of all time is literally commencing soon. And the challenge just starts every Monday.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the things that we've seen evolve. It is one of the things we've seen evolve, because for us, what we've seen over time now is that people are still very conditioned to using a challenge as their starting point. So you make a really interesting point. I mean, one of the things we sort of work on now from a coaching front when we work with fitness business owners is, yes, have that start date, but promote it internally, so that, because one of the crying shames in businesses, they use the challenge acquisition model, and then their existing members never do a challenge again in some businesses. So we have seen that case. So
it's almost a classic case, mate, where they have a challenge that's 4 weeks out, The challenge is 28 days. So then they enroll people up, but then it's 8 weeks until the next person rolls over.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
in that 8-week period, they haven't took into account churn, and they're just constantly at that plateau every
Yeah.
single 8 weeks.
Yep, and as you've touched on, it's not a difficult one to tidy up systems wise. It's just that ability to roll. As you've touched on, your evergreen offer as opposed to these rigid structured dates, which, as I say, can work in different ways than what they obviously once did. Those. So, yeah,
Well,
good
mate,
point.
that was your experience owning gyms. You then transition into business coaching, and we'll get to Evolt in a
Yep.
second. But mate, I would love to talk to you about your business coaching journey. So I'm 12 months in today. So you've got
Mhm.
years and years and years of experience on me. When I first started, I literally thought it was about leads and sales because I am so logical. I'm logistical. Let's get leads, let's get sales, let's get
Yep.
clients. But the more I get into it, mate, the more that I realize we need to break lots and lots of beliefs before we start talking about leads and sales.
Mhm.
What was your experience like when you first came into business coaching to what you thought it was going to be to what it turned out to be?
I think the evolution of the industry's had a big part to play in that, or times changing's had a big part to play in that. As I was mentioning earlier, the thing that we drummed into clients early doors was results, 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 and it was almost to the point where it didn't matter how you got them, just get them results because they're walking billboards and you can take photos. And this was obviously the early days of Facebook. I don't even think Instagram was born yet here, or wasn't released yet here in Australia anyway. So it was very results oriented. So yeah, then it was very much a matter of yes, we did a little bit of mindset work with clients, not to the extent of what we do today, but probably more to the point, not to the depth, and nor did they at that point in time when we very first started doing this, did we really have an understanding of why this was so important.
So
Obviously,
just
time
to
has
back up a
changed
bit,
a lot
man.
of that.
So
Yep.
in years gone by, it was results focused, testimonials, post them, organic traffic. People walk in, can I please sign up? And over the years, as competition has increased, as the market has become more sophisticated, there has been a change in the market. In
Big
your
time.
opinion, Beau, what has that change been, and what has the driver been?
I credit CrossFit for this one. And again, purely my view, but I do credit CrossFit for this one because what they were able to do is harness that sense of community to the point where there was a time when CrossFit really hit its heights and peaks where it's a cult. And for me, it's funny. It's funny when you talk about cults because it's almost like the sense of community in your business has made it when people want to describe, average Joe wants to describe, what Gen Pop wants to describe it as a cult. So for me, CrossFit was, CrossFit was the turning point here around culture, community, and more to the point, client experience. And for me now, when we used to drum results, now it's the quality of the experience. And there's that I see many.
So, mate,
many
I'm
prominent.
going to jump in again, man, because people will attribute quality of experience to quality of the equipment, and we both know that not to be the case. What makes an excellent client experience, in your opinion?
The equipment's only a really small part, and the way the facility presents, and the way that it's laid out, and the feel and the atmosphere as people walk in. For me, one of the pleasing things now is that it is very much back to good old-fashioned service, which you had to do when you were PTing because otherwise you were building these one-on-one relationships all the time. And as I say, it's been nice that it's almost a 360 degree to the service, the level and quality of service needed now. So for me, that experience starts. I mean, Jamie, you touched on it all the time around, how they're first introduced to the business. So it's everything from the quality of that first initial call that they have, whether you go through a triage process and you triage to then bring them into the facility, or whether it's you're selling them over the phone. For me, that's where their experience really starts. And then, I know you love the word acquisition, but for me, obviously, this, again, I'm not the first person to come up with this. We hear great prominent figures in the industry talk about the acquisition side of the coin and the fulfillment side of the coin. So that initial dealing around the sales process, the level of care factor. Obviously, the way we sell and the way we sell successfully has now changed, and it's been great to, obviously, there's some wonderful sales coaches, but sales people out there now that are, like yourself, that are having some wonderful success selling in a very different style to what we used to. And then obviously it then comes down to the fulfillment component to back that up, which can be systemized, which then produces that consistency of client experience around the touch points with coaches, how often we check in, when we ask for referrals, your events calendar, your challenges, little things. We see loyalty programs, we see rewards programs, we see touch points with trainers, we see technology now being used. Like it's very all encompassing. And as I say, it can, very much make or break the retention of your members.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things you can do. You can get more clients or make your clients worth more, and that's either by charging more or helping them stay longer. And for me, client experience is everything. And like, they are not joining your gym to exercise. They are joining your gym to join a community, and the byproduct is the result. But man, like, going back to the start of our conversation, we try and run our gyms like a footy club.
Yeah.
Like, I love the footy club atmosphere, mate. You come in
Yeah.
2-3 times a week, you have fun with your mates. On the weekend, you might have breakfast together. You have a monthly event. Like, we made our event calendar based off our footy club. So we have like a ping pong night, we have a trivia night, and it's the same thing. We have a Christmas party, and we just try and create an enormous amount of FOMO. As in, like, if you're a member here, not only we get results, but we're going to have a bloody good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to see more and more businesses utilizing those really powerful, again, because it helps that we can now as well. But it's nice to see more and more businesses acknowledging that, and then obviously putting that into really good practice.
So one thing I often see, mate, and I'm sure you saw it too, is you have the fitness professional that is an amazing coach, that is an amazing technician, can name all 206 bones in the body.
Yep.
And it's hard for that person to understand that, hey, like, yes, the results are important. Yes, anatomy is important, but a massive component is the community, is the enjoyment, is the relationship. When you were coaching fit pros, how did you help get them over that hump?
I think there comes a time in the industry for nearly all. I know there's some that as you described there, that just love their training and love that component to the industry, and they will forever and a day, and they'll be brilliant coaches in their own right. I know I personally got to a time where I got a little bit bored. Training clients, same thing. And yes, you love to help them. I remember in my first 12 months as a trainer, and I would have a competition, with myself, as to how many sessions I could fit in a day. Right? You get, half-hour sessions, you pack them up, so 15, 16, 17. And if someone cancelled, you used to get the shits because your record was off the table. Well, 12 months later, and I'd work public holidays and, you'd almost work around the clock. 12 months later, when someone cancelled, I was high-fiving because I could duck up to the coffee shop and have a coffee. It was such a turn of events.
Yeah.
Such a turn of events. And then obviously that progressively deteriorated over time. So, and again, you'll hear other business mentors and prominent people in the industry talk about this. There's a transition phase of wanting to be a kick-ass trainer to then wanting to have a kick-ass business. And there is a switch that you flick, that you then start to look at this, as an operation, as more than just coming in and training clients on a daily basis.
So for Mitch and I, mate, we started when we were like 25, and we had the discussion at the age of 26 of like, can we be running these sessions when we're 50? Like, if I'm a 55-year-old man and I'm training an 18-year-old girl, is that weird? Like, will she feel comfortable? Like, do I have kids? Do I have family? Am I a grandfather? And I think those thoughts are terrifying, to think that, hey, if you get into this industry and you love training and you want to be with people one-on-one, can you see yourself doing it in your late 50s? And if you can't, then as Beau said, at some point, you need to transition from an excellent coach to being an excellent business owner.
And it is a big dynamic shift, because very quickly your attention turns from, servicing, which by the way is the easiest thing to delegate in your business, I feel. So long as everything is systemized, of course, and we might talk about that later as well. But obviously then having some energetic, enthusiastic, new people to the industry who, that's how my journey started. Great. Well, let's get them started on their journey. And then, the focus changed to, okay, well, let's have a little bit more balance, because there was no balance at that time, up at silly o'clock and go to bed and do it all again 5-6 times a week.
You said something really important. Year 1 as a PT, you were trying to break your daily session record. Year 2, you were dying for a break to have a coffee. And you had that first year enthusiasm. And maybe it lasts to year 2 or year 3, but if you can bring great coaches into your business, they have the systems to fulfill. You have that first year energy every session, every year in your fitness business.
Correct. The other thing that I feel is really important to that point, we talk about the overall client experience. It also gives, with having multiple coaches within a business, it gives multiple relationships to be nurtured and to foster. So where it might have been, one coach doing everything, you've now got 2 or 3. So there's multiple. So if someone wanted to leave, well, it's really easy. It's only one broken heart. A lot more difficult to break 2, 3, 4 people, so particularly when you've got a relationship with each of them. And again, from an experience standpoint, when you have that circle of friends within every training session. So sort of more to that experience point and the importance of that and how you're currently building and producing that within your business. So
yeah, man, that's so cool.
So the switch was flicked, and then it was that's obviously the hiring of the mentor and just slowly but surely taking those steps away. So not training people, and it was as simple as moving from, okay, well, I'm only going to train people in these hours of the week so that my afternoons could open up for selling. Then it became, okay, I'm going to minimize how many mornings a week I'll work. And then it obviously got to the point where I kept a handful, but realistically, it was in times of the day that I wasn't going to sell, but I loved being up at that time. And then that was the focus. Okay, and because of our system that we touched on before, from 7-day trial to group training client to personal training client with however much access to the groups you wanted at that price point, I had coaches, I had trainers that needed work. So then it was a matter of, okay, well, I'll be responsible for that. And that's obviously where the switch had been flicked around dispersing clients, delegating work to the coaches, and taking more of that sales and marketing role, which I know so many listeners to your podcast are doing currently.
Yeah, of course. Well, mate, I want to transition to the main reason I got you on the podcast. And I like to have a very, very non-biased view of why would I get a scanner? Why would I have supplements in my gym? Why would I do X, Y, Z? So, mate, you've just started working with Evolt 360. For people that don't know, they are the scanners that are in the majority of gyms and the majority of supplement stores. I do find it's getting more and more common to have them in the actual gym itself, as opposed to sending them down to ASN, where they get sold 1,000 tubs of protein powder and shitty pre-workout. So, mate, tell me what Evolt. It's true, man. I have clients go to a supplement shop and they get ripped in there, and I'm like, why am I sending you people? Like, you like we don't share the same values.
Yeah.
Right. And you pay to acquire the client and then give them. Man, I'm going a bit of a rant now. And you give them to them. Like, do it yourself. Well, mate, tell me how you transitioned into Evolt 360. And I would love to hear some success stories of you placing these scanners in gyms and what type of turnaround that has done for them.
Yeah, sure. So we have the. You probably notice a lot of our systems in the body fits at the moment. We have the mandate to a lot of the anytimes around the world, or very soon to be global. So my transition occurred 6-7 weeks ago now. And the thing that's been really refreshing is I've been able to continue business coaching as something that I love doing, with more than just a piece of equipment. And I think that's where I love starting when I talk about the system, because it is a system. And if you work the system, it will absolutely work for you. So yes, can appreciate it's obviously bioimpedance technology, and you will have seen them obviously in various gyms or people that come to you to scan your challenge clients. So they take over 40 data points within the scan. So we look at things like body fat percentage, we look at visceral fat, we look at lean muscle mass, we look at hydration levels, mineral levels. We also take bio age, which is something which is interesting. There's a little evolution now. Obviously, more and more we're now hearing the health and wellness industry as opposed to the health and fitness industry. Bio age is something that people are now starting, and the anti-aging concept is something that people are now starting to take a lot more seriously. So we obviously measure for that. And we also have our very own bio wellness index score, because we know how flawed BMI is, height versus weight.
Of course. Mate, I am morbidly obese.
Mate, I'm overweight, and I think there's more meat on a cornflake at the moment. That said, so we take those standard data points, which a lot of them take. We then do a segmental analysis. So the beauty of the segmental analysis is that if you're rehabbing a client, if you've had a client just finish undergo some surgery, what you're going to be able to see is the muscle imbalance, whether it's from left side to right side, left arm, right arm, left leg, right leg, and a little torso cross section as well. So it's really good. We're actually seeing, believe it or not, NFL scouts are now using this technology, because if there's a player that's coming through the grades that's had a couple of knee reconstructions, they can pick it through the muscle imbalances, which is really fascinating.
Man, I actually had a scan. It wasn't Evolt, at a physiotherapy clinic, first time ever. I had a right ACL surgery, and my right quad is puny, and that scan highlighted it very clearly.
And highlights it. So again, for the physios, EPs, obviously working on more of a rehab-based client, or those working with the more experienced in life. I don't like calling people old. They just have more experience. So, I mean, again, wonderful value add there. And then the big one for us is the nutrition and supplement recommendations. So when your clients first step on an Evolt, our process now is to have them download the app. So if you haven't downloaded the Evolt Active app, this is something you can absolutely do as a business owner, because it will give you, again, a client experience. So to tie this all in, this is now fast becoming part of the experience that business owners are affording their clients. So the beauty of downloading the app is the fact that they get to complete a lifestyle questionnaire. So we look at, yes, the general things like age and height and name, email, all the general things. But then we get them to complete a lifestyle questionnaire, which will include their body type, their current activity level, and their current activity level and their goal, of course. So fat loss, muscle gain, and optimal health. And then from there, what is then calculated as part of our scanning results are the nutritional recommendations. So daily calories broken into proteins, carbs, fats, and accompanying supplement recommendations.
So can I jump in there, mate?
Now we don't.
So this machine gives a Sorry, can I jump in there, mate?
Yep.
Well, I think we cut out there, mate. We're back. So you mentioned that it gives you a nutrition, like calorie macro breakdown. How is that possible without being like, obviously the age-old like trainer, not a dietitian? This is what I eat. Like, how does that work?
Okay, so this science has all been provided by our accredited dietitians that are obviously all university qualified.
Okay.
So what essentially it does is, so within the system itself, obviously there's a calculation that has been set up by them that takes into account where they're at, what their goal is, body type, and the lifestyle questionnaire, so the activity level as well, and the type of training that they do, and then it will obviously spit out the nutritional recommendations, so daily calories and then proteins, carbs, fats. So all of that's been prepared by our qualified dietitians. So no need to worry if you're a trainer, because all that liability is on us, and obviously we've been able to get this checked off because these systems are actually TGA and NDA approved, so they are a medical device.
That's correct. So the idea would be is that, can you hear me, Beau?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yep. So the idea would be is that, like, hey, I'm a personal trainer in a gym, use the Evolt scanner, and it will literally write them a nutrition plan from scratch that is accredited and approved by a dietitian. And you can literally say, like, hey, you can follow this A to Z to get the result if your goal is to lose X, Y, Z.
So if you follow this daily macro count, yes, absolutely.
Man, I
And
didn't know that.
and of course, the beauty of the supplements, not just from a revenue standpoint, but of course, the theory around the supplements is that we understand how hard it is for people, in particular protein, and our female clients with protein, to hit those daily macros. So this gives them the opportunity to supplement or fill in the gaps that they may not get from their daily nutrition.
So on the scanner, it would say, hey, you need to get 150 grams of protein, and then it would spit out the 5 meals, for example, and they would say, hey, like I don't think I'm going to be able to have steak for morning tea. And the trainer say, okay, well, as you can see, 30 grams of protein, you might have a protein shake there. Is that kind of
Okay.
the flow of
Good
how that
question.
works?
Good question. So at this stage, the macros will get produced. We are working to that next stage. So again, and this is where Evolt are fast becoming more of a software company and a tech development company from that standpoint. So very soon we'll have meal plans that can be utilized that will accompany those the daily calorie ranges and macros. So in the interim though, those guidelines can be used, and if you have a relationship with a dietitian or nutritionist or someone along those lines, or if your clients are using a nutrition tracking app, they'll be able to see what they're doing currently and how close that measures up with those macros that we've recommended for them.
All right. So it's just, yeah. So like, it's funny, mate, because I've been in the industry and you think you know it all and you learn every single day in regards to
Yeah.
just how amazing the technology is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mate, other technology, obviously Aura rings and Whoop rings. Is
Yep.
there an integration between like an Apple Watch, an Aura ring, a Whoop band, and the Evolt scanner?
It's a good question. So we've just actually we've just, I know Trainerize is obviously one of the programming softwares that trainers love to use. So I know we've just completed a really successful integration with Trainerize. So that feature is obviously imminent from a launch standpoint. It's something that our tech team absolutely enjoys looking at is the integration of that. I know that there's a couple of our corporate clients at the moment where we're starting to obviously key into their apps and be able to integrate with them. So the beauty of that is that obviously from a fitness business owner standpoint, is that if there's key information that you're after for a client's profile, we have the ability to drag it across so that from again client experience standpoint, you have the client has the ability to see, okay, well, this is how much quality sleep I had, and this is what I have to do today, and this is where I'm at currently. So yes, I'm on track. So yes, we have the ability to pull some of that data per some of our fitness business owner requests. Yeah.
So from my point of view, mate, and you may flat out disagree with me, and that's okay. When I'm selling gym memberships, i.e. 28 days, 6-week, 8-week, 12-week challenges, my pitch is very simple in regards to it has to be effective, it has to be enjoyable, and we have to give you a ton of support. We work with the gyms that have scanners, and I say, hey, like, I don't want to talk about it in the pitch. Like, it won't help me close more sales. It won't help with the marketing, putting in the ads. What is your advice to someone like myself? Do you think it would add value to the ad? Do you think it would help with the phone call? Or do you think it's more something that happens when they're in the gym? Because from my point of view is like, we just don't want to overwhelm them with, hey, you have to have a scan. You have to get a Whoop band. You have to sleep more. Like, what are your thoughts around that, mate?
Of course. And it's a really great question. The thing I would come back to here is the strength of the salesperson. Jamie, I know you can sell. I've heard you sell, and I know very much. I know you have a wonderful ability there, and even our great mate Big Dog, he's he's no different. I feel that for those that want the additional sales tool or want this as a sales tool, to use it as a sales tool and to really help you create the gap.
Mate, that's why I love talking to people like you, because I've never actually thought about it like that. Maybe I don't need discounts. Maybe I don't need to value add, but if people can, it will help them close more deals. That's great. I like that.
Yeah, and I think in its simple form, if this is something that again adds to that experience as they first join, first walk into your facility, your club, your gym, whatever it may be. If it then gives you the ability to have that information in front of you in black and white, and then obviously have again sales process by rights wouldn't change too much from what you're working now from a scripting standpoint, but it will give you the ability to really widen that gap, because you're going to have a really clear representation as to where they're at, and obviously an understanding of where they want to go. And then, of course, from a sales process standpoint, why it's important, build your consequence questions in, and obviously get, we go down that and it is a process. And I love that, from a sales standpoint now, the old used car salesman, if we are so much more process driven in this area in the industry, and it's something that I feel is certainly helping more trainers in particular, but more business owners improve their sales process, because we're fast understanding that this is a skill set that you can acquire. And the more reps, no different to building your body, no different to kicking a footy. The more reps that you do, the better you get. So knowing that a lot of our listeners would sell in person, and
of course,
would need some assistance from that standpoint to build that gap. Certainly something that could help them. The other thing
when people talk about doing the old gym tour, I'm like, I haven't done that for like 8 years. I don't know. I don't even know. I remember you used to in the Fitness First, you'd walk around. There's the scanner, there's the PT board, there's my qualifications. It's just, I guess it's a more logical, more prescriptive way of selling, which would overcome a lot of sales deficiencies. When you're constantly building value, hey, this scan is valued at X amount, our challenge is X amount. You'd be stupid not to sign up.
The other thing it will do, because you've now got a really clear understanding as the expert as to how big the gap is, it might give you an ability to upsell based off where they're at and what they want to achieve, whether it's adding personal training in, whether it's adding additional coaching and accountability in. So there's that component. The other thing, of course, if the scan's in front of you, it's not, would you like to buy subs? It's, what flavor protein would you like? Because that now becomes part and parcel of that process. So, look, as I say, can appreciate for those that have got some incredible sales skills, you probably won't need it. But for those of you that are triaging, bringing people for in-person appointments and want to create more of that experience and have something that backs up your recommendations, then it may be something that you can certainly use.
Where I think the scans are great, Beau, whether you include it in the first sales process or the triage call or the in-club sales consultation, it should absolutely be somewhere in your onboarding. Because imagine if you can charge $99 for the scan and it costs you $100 to acquire the client, and then putting my own needs first, you can outsource your marketing you can outsource your sales and marketing to agencies, and then still finance your ads by utilizing the scanners or supplements or upselling in that first onboarding period.
Absolutely. And it's nice that we sort of move from acquisition to fulfillment now, because absolutely that's something that a lot of our really successful clients do, is have that. And again, we come back to experience. So they have that onboarding session that if the sales have been done elsewhere, it's one of the first things they do. And we really look to sit down and map out that roadmap and really set them up for success. The good thing, though, in terms of working the system, one scan's not going to get anyone anywhere, because they want comparative data, right? So then it becomes built into what you do, whether it's 28 days, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, at whatever frequency it may be. It then becomes part of the fulfillment.
Do you recommend, like, when a client buys a scan or a few, do you give them, like you mentioned that you're doing a bit of business coaching also? Obviously, there's an education piece around when you should use it. Is there a frequency that you recommend, and is there an RRP for that scan? Do you recommend like having a one-off fee? Do you recommend having a scan pack, or do you reckon having it like a add-on to their direct debit?
Good question. We've seen all work, and I think that's the short answer to it. We've seen all of those options work. We see with higher ticket that it's built in. We see with group, it's built into the challenge registration fee. And then with access gyms, we see it as a cost per scan. That then some businesses offer a bulk, like a scanning package. So we've seen them all work. In terms of average range, we really leave that up to the business owner, but we see the average range anywhere between $25 and $45 a scan now. So that sweet spot, 30 to 35, is really what we see. And from and the thing to be mindful of with a system like this, it is an accountability and retention tool. So as I say, it accompanies however frequently you would update someone's program, that you would bring them in for a progress check. I know some people like 28 days. I know some people like 42. So, 1 month or 6 weeks.
What I like about the scans, mate, is if you are an amazing technician and you're an amazing coach and maybe you're not the best at sales, if you have a scan every 6 weeks, you can almost have that high point at that scan if you are world class at getting results. And the scan does your talking. There's no need to resell them. It's also a great idea to ask for referrals if Sally's just lost 10 kilos.
It was about to be my next point. So now all of a sudden what you start to see is your referral system kick in. So, who would you love to share your experience with, knowing that that person that gets referred is going to enjoy the exact same experience as the client sitting in front of you. He's obviously, has experienced themselves. So it does become a wonderful referral tool from that standpoint. They're also portable. So the other thing, obviously, that I would touch on is that, yes, we see them in gyms, and yes, we see them as a permanent fixture. These are also great ways for acquisition as well. So whether it's some corporate outreach, whether it's, we see them in supplement stores, there's some wonderful ways to continue to grow your business.
First thing that popped into my mind would be footy club pre-season. There's 66 guys there.
Well, and AFL's only one sport. There's a range of sports that are kicking pre-seasons off at that time of year.
Yeah, man. So, and I think about the footy club. I think of just like making fast revenue. If the captain of the footy team pays $10 for a scan, the other 22 are going to follow behind.
Oh, and you've probably got 50 or 60 that have shown up for training. So yeah, multiply your 10 by that figure. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Well, mate, like, what is the biggest success story you've seen from a gym owner having a scanner in terms of revenue created off the scanner? What does that ballpark look like?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a number of them. The one that comes to mind first, though, is an owner who was at the brink of closure, who was absolutely struggling to keep the doors open. He bought it through one of our finance options that we have. So we sat down and strategized and calculated exactly what he would need on a monthly basis, and gave some strategy around a challenge, because our system comes with a built-in challenge feature through the software that we provide. So that was all automated. So we had people obviously signing into that. He then had one of his trainers go out and run some mobile as well. So obviously the machine was working for him. He turned his business from literally about to close the doors to $250,000 within the space of 12 months.
So I guess going back to the scanner in regards to acquisition outside of the gym, everyone's been offered a free 7-day trial before. They don't want it. Beau was offering them 10 years ago. However, can I come to your footy club and offer you a scan for every single player at 80% off? And then we can scan them again at the end of the preseason. Oh, and by the way, like, if you guys have any wet weather nights, feel free to come into the gym and I can put you through a session. Man, I really, really like that. Love that.
Simple. And from a community standpoint, the next thing would be your players going home. Hey, I had this done tonight. It was actually really cool, and I've got the results here on my app, because the app will actually graph their progress for them. So they'll see their muscle mass going up. They'll see the visual representation of lean muscle mass and visceral fat and everything going the way that it really should. So there's then obviously the networks that you're then going to have access to with something that is very, very simple.
Well, man, you've sold me. You really, really have. And I think that the scanners would be an amazing opportunity to help less skilled people get more sales across the line in person. I think it would help your onboarding experience. It would help your retention. It would help your referrals. Obviously, the scanner isn't for everyone, but for a lot of people it would be. But man, it never actually crossed my mind of how to use it for a physical lead magnet outside of the gym. And I think as technology becomes more, how can I say this, more accepted with Whoop, Apple, Garmin's, I think this is the next evolution in that. Get some AR glasses, mate, soon, so you can actually see your body fat. Mate, we've run late, but man, I finished this podcast the same way. Mate, what's one question that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Giveaway would be who my brother is. No. No.
So, mate, Beau's brother is actually Dane Zorko, if anyone's playing along at home, which is the captain of the Brisbane Lions. Man, when they kicked that left foot snap in the goal in the last 3 minutes, I thought that was it.
Look, Father of the Year moment. It took me, so once the final, so my little fella is obsessed, loves his AFL, loves his Lions. It took me a 6-nugget Happy Meal, a chocolate thick shake, and the promise of arcade games that I played the next day to calm him down. He was in hysterics.
Yeah, man. Mate, my business partner, this is breaking news, by the way, worldwide. He actually had a baby yesterday. So
Congrats.
man, like he's a father. I'm so proud of him having the baby, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to, mate. I'm getting married in 14 days, and then it's baby time.
All the best. Yes.
So, mate, I've got one question. I've got one more question for you, man. How do you have a successful career and be the father of the year?
No, I wouldn't say I'm Father of the Year. I don't like. I read something. So through owning the studios and coaching and footy coaching and everything, I read a piece about work-life balance. And what I read about work-life balance was that it's not balance, it's integration. And I think that's the one thing. Actually, if you should have asked me a question, it's probably how do you make all this work? And my answer would be integration. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. Obviously, love my family dearly. So it's a matter of integration. Getting up and going to work that doesn't feel like work to me. Being a dad is just comes so natural, and enjoy every second of that. So when your time comes, I dare say you'll give some very similar feedback, because it does certainly change you. For me,
that's beautiful, man. So integrating. I've had an irrational fear that you can only love one thing. And I love my gyms. I love fitness business consulting. And I thought, if I have a child, do I love it less? But integration is the key word there, where it's not one or the other. It's not if then, it is both is possible if you integrate them correctly.
Yeah, it's integration and teamwork. Love seeing everyone win. So whether it's partner, children, whatever it may, I mean, it's energy boosting to see. You really derive energy off seeing people win as well, and particularly those close to you. So that accompanies the integration really nicely too.
Well, mate, if people want to get in touch with you, there's going to be comments on my Facebook profile. There's going to be links in the show notes to get in contact with Beau and to look at getting an Evolt scanner. As I mentioned transparently before I had Beau on, I've never had them in my gyms, but the idea of using them for like a lead magnets just never actually occurred to me out in the public. And I think it's a really, really great way. I think it's a phenomenal idea.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sort of as a parting note, they're not just a piece of. They're not just a piece of equipment. It's very hard to monetize a treadmill. It's very hard to monetize a rower. This is a system, and because we have accompanying software to the hardware, which if we had another 2 hours, I could go through with you and show you the dashboard and all those sorts of things, where you get an accumulation to market your business with that data. You very quickly understand that again, like all good business, it is system, and this is a system that can certainly work for your fitness business.
Yeah, well, Beau, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely day.
My pleasure. All the best.